Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developpreneurs, with your hosts, Josh Earl, Derick Bailey, and John Sonmez, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, John Sonmez here, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor for our podcast, Signalleaf. Without Signalleaf, we wouldn't have a place to host our podcast, and as you know, Signalleaf is actually from one of our own here at EntreProgrammers. It is the creation of Derick Bailey. So Derick is actually the owner and creator of Signalleaf, and it's a podcast hosting service. So if you are interested in creating your own podcast, go on over to signalleaf.com and sign up for an account today and check out how easy it is to get started. The thing I really like about Signalleaf is just how easy it makes it for hosting your podcast. Of course, I have my own podcast, Get Up and Code, that I host at Signalleaf, and I've been very happy with it. We're hosting EntreProgrammers there as well, and so thank you again, Signalleaf, for sponsoring this show. And don't forget to check out Signalleaf at signalleaf.com if you're interested in starting your own podcast.
We're live.
This is weird looking. I spent the last 2 hours recording screencasts for Watch Me Code and sitting in front of a 1080p monitor, and now I'm back on my big, beautiful 27-inch Thunderbolt, and it's like everything is too big. There's too much. it's I don't know, weird. I'm used to this normally, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm recording out of the wrong camera. Hold on, let me fix that. All right,
okay.
That's the right camera.
Yeah.
Much better.
But yeah, so no Josh today.
Yeah, so no Josh today. He's apparently coming back from some work-related off-site thing.
Yeah. And you've been recording screencasts?
Yeah, so I took you guys' advice from last week and decided to focus this week entirely, not the entire week, but the time that I have not doing client work, focused all of my attention on Watch Me Code this week. And so I outlined, I think like 16 or 17 new episodes, outlined, at least organized the order that I want to do them in and what the titles and subject will be, so that I can record enough episodes to have everything set and done all the way through the end of the year. My goal is to have Watch Me Code kind of on autopilot, for as long as possible, at least through the end of the year, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't want to have to constantly record new screencasts every week or however often and deal with that. I want to batch it together and be done with it for a while. So I've been recording those this morning, spent about, almost 3 hours doing that, about 2.5 hours recording screencasts, and I think I got 5 episodes done. So pretty good effort.
Yeah, that's great.
There's one more that I want to try and get done today, but I'm not sure if I'm going to, because it takes a lot out of me to record these things. So, but yeah, it's been interesting to try and do focus on one thing this week. I actually found it to be really difficult, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to set aside Signalleaf and other things that I wanted to do in my time away from consulting. It's like, okay, I gotta focus. Oh, but I want to. Oh no, I gotta focus. But I want to. No, gotta focus.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's quite difficult to do, but I think it was worth the effort. I mean, I got 5 screencasts recorded this morning, and I wouldn't have been able to do that this morning if I didn't take Monday and Wednesday and sit down and plan the things that I was going to do, run through the basics of it a few times in order to get the idea of where I was going and why, and then be able to sit down and hit record and get through it. Especially with I recorded some MongoDB stuff and installing MongoDB on Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu, and there's some tricks to each of those that I found to be particularly interesting.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely painful to do that focus,
Yeah.
but I think productivity-wise, you'll see an improvement, and then just when you focus, you get more time to go deeper into the
Right.
thing, and plus, if you're recording, several hours of screencast, you become more efficient at it as you're going. So
Right. Right.
up to a point, and then you become less efficient.
Yeah, and I'm
The
getting to the
quality
point
drops
now.
off. Yeah,
I'm getting to the point now where I'm just like, I don't want to talk anymore.
yeah,
My voice hurts. My head is starting to feel like it's enlarging inside of my skull, and just all right. I need to be done.
yeah. Well, that's good because I mean, once you got that, it sounds like you'll be wrapping that up fairly soon, and then you'll be pretty much set for the end of the year, and then you can shift your focus to other things and not
Yeah.
feel you can kind of put a rest to the Watch Me Code and know that that's out of done for now.
Right, at least
And
through the beginning of the year or the end of the
yeah,
year.
and then hopefully by the time you pick it up again, like near the beginning of the year or end of the year, you'll be a little bit more refreshed and a little more excited to work on it again. So
Right. Hopefully. It's been interesting though. It's been kind of a downer lately with Watch Me Code subscriptions, because I seem to be hovering and very slowly losing ground in my subscriptions. Earlier this week I had about 355, and now I'm down to 350. And I've had some new subscribers recently in the
yeah,
last check. In the month of September so far, I've had 13 new subscribers, including one today. One yesterday, two on the 10th. So I'm getting new subscribers, but I'm losing them faster than I'm gaining them at this point, which is kind of depressing.
yeah. I mean that's kind of expected with that. I mean you're not doing a lot of advertising at this point,
It's true.
right? And um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's still very small the trend, so
Right.
I wouldn't be too concerned. You're still bringing in a pretty decent income off of.
Yeah, definitely. I brought in 2,300 last month with it, I think. And then I'm already sitting at 1,200 for this month. Yeah, last month I brought in 2,350. This month I'm at 1,250 so far. So I'll hit 2,300 even having lost a few subscribers this month. But I'm not advertising any right now, and that's with intent. I've got there were 3 months worth of 3 or 4 months of episodes of JavaScript Jabber that I sponsored, and there
Yeah.
were a number of conferences and a number of other podcasts, and I spent like $3,000 in a 3 or 4 month period doing sponsorships and advertisements and whatnot, and I'm not sure if it was worth it at this point. I'm having a hard time tracking the the actual income that I've earned from the people that signed up through those sponsorships.
Yeah,
I can look at like average lifetime revenue for a customer and see, I'm sitting at like $60, $70 for that, and it cost me on average about $40 per subscriber that I brought in. So I think I'm profitable with those, but I don't have enough money to be able to throw around $3,000 or $4,000 every couple of months to get new subscribers like that and to grow this subscription service.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I would just try to grow it organically, just through your blog posts
Right.
and emails and stuff like that, and then later, pick up the,
Right.
when you can actually put a focused effort, because that's another one of those things where you're going to want to just like devote your entire time to just focusing on advertising, and so
Right.
that you can be very careful to chart it and make sure that you A/B test things and stuff. Like if you just throw out advertising, you're not going to be able to really tune it. So
Yeah, and Josh is doing pretty awesome with that for me on the Signalleaf side of things, and I'm still terrible at the marketing stuff, at least when it comes to that kind of marketing. I'm definitely better at the content marketing, blog post, informational stuff. Like the mastering JavaScript this email course, and I actually last week I had a pretty popular blog post on setting up debugging for Jasmine unit tests for debugging Node.js unit tests using Grunt, which was an interesting little exercise to do because I'm using Grunt to run all my tests, but I still need to be able to debug my stuff, my tests. And so I wrote up a blog post on how to set that up, and it got a large number of hits over about a 3 or 4 day period. And I have at the very bottom of that, new to debugging, check out these Watch Me Code episodes. So I think
perfect, yeah.
I think I got a few subscribers out of that as well. So that worked out pretty well, and as I increase my Google juice for search engine results and whatnot, that'll continue to drive people to at least be aware of Watch Me Code and hopefully drive traffic and generate interest and all that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the strategy that I think works the best overall. Or, I mean, it's the most comforting strategy where it requires the less upkeep, which is where it's organic, where you have so much stuff out there that people find you,
right?
And they, so you don't actually have to put forth an effort. It's like you're building. It's small bricks in this wall, but as you keep on writing posts and stuff, it gets stronger. Like that's how I view with simpleprogrammer.com now. I was just looking at my WordPress the stats to see how it's growing, and it's been in November. It'll be 5 years since I started the blog, and when you look at the daily average users, average visits per day. The daily average was 90 people the first year, and then it went up to 500 people the second year, and then 1,000, and then 2,000, and now this year it's hitting 3,200.
Wow!
And so it's next year hopefully it'll be 4,000 to 5,000.
Right.
But every time that's going up, as I'm continuing to do blog posts, it's building this huge platform, it's expanding. It's all this income that comes in from Amazon, from people signing up for my newsletter and from buying my course. So it's a permanent base of it's better than any advertising that I could possibly do because it's cumulative. So
it just takes a really, really, really long time to build that up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm sitting at for the last 30 days on DerickBailey.com, I'm sitting at 295 users a day.
Yeah, that's
which
good. Yeah,
comes out to about 8,800, a little over 8,800 for the last 30 days, which is growth for me. My sessions, there's 11,000 sessions, so people coming back to the site more than once, and that has been steadily growing since I launched DerickBailey.com. It started out as a couple thousand a month, and I'm up to over 11,000 sessions per month at this point. So I've been able to take a lot of the traffic that I was getting from LosTechies.com and bring it over to DerickBailey.com, which has been pretty powerful. And then, with the combination of my newsletter growing and the giveaway I did and the email courses that I advertise on Twitter, getting quite a few new people coming into the door and looking at blog posts as well.
Yeah. That's, and it'll just continue to accumulate over time, right? All those things that's the one thing, I try to focus almost all my efforts as much as possible on things that are cumulative, that stick around, rather than the thing. And that's where, advertising is effective for a short term, but it has no long-term impact at all. It's you pay for it, it appears, you spend effort and time, and then it disappears. At least that kind of
Yeah, it kind of depends on the market though, because with Signalleaf, I think it's once we get the marketing funnel down, it's going to be a lot more cost effective for Signalleaf to do Google ads and other types of ads. I definitely want to continue doing blog posts, and I'm going to continue the weekly focus thing, and next week is going to be focused on Signalleaf. So I have plans to write at least one blog post and work on code and work on marketing and stuff. And so I'm continuing down that path as well because I do believe it's important. Building up that regular, flow of traffic to the blog and whatnot is very important. But I also think for Signalleaf at least, there's value in Google Ads, Google AdWords, and getting people put into a sales funnel and all that through Google AdWords to try and not just to try and get customers, but to try and get people into Signalleaf for informational purposes, which will eventually convert them into customers.
Right. In that case, I'd say, the artifact is the funnel. The real value there is the funnel. That's the thing that lasts. Once you figure this out, once you do the testing and you figure out how to, then you've got something that's a long-lasting thing. Individual ads by themselves are not worth. But that funnel, figuring out that process, that's really worth the
right, and that's what Josh and I have been focusing on. We've got a number of different landing pages that have different approaches to what we're talking about and how we're advertising things, and we're slowly changing the funnel in Signalleaf so that it's more informational, and we're talking about putting together an email course for people to sign up, which will be its own sales funnel, and that'll be like the 7-day or the 5-day email courses that I'm doing for JavaScript stuff, where it'll give you, here's step-by-step podcasting, the intro level kind of material to get you past the idea of I want to podcast, how do I do it, all the way to I've published my first episode, hopefully, talking about frequently asked, common problems, questions, things like that.
Okay.
That's kind of the goal of where we're heading with that, and we're starting out, smaller, more focused right now. We're doing, simple landing pages to start with, and building some stability into the ads and into the landing page and onboarding process first, and then we'll be moving down in those other directions once we get some of this stuff stable.
That's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to hear how that works. Like to see the growth. Once you can get some real growth with Signalleaf, that'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I'm very optimistic about it at this point. I've even without having a solid sales funnel and without having everything in place, there is still growth in Signalleaf. In September alone, I've added 3 new subscribers, 2 of them at $10 and 1 of them at $20. In August, I added 3. In July, I added 5, actually, and June was 6. So there is growth. Some of those have closed their accounts. Some of the people from June, a couple of people from July have closed, but there is growth, and I've definitely got something valuable and useful here, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback on the reports that I've put up and the few blog posts that I've done in the last couple of weeks. So I still think there's huge potential for Signalleaf if I can focus and get it simplified and get things to really have that nice polish and shine, and really show people how easy it is to use this, then I think there's a lot of potential for this taking off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. That the market's already proven because you've got pretty big competitors. So
yeah, definitely. And I currently have 37 active accounts. About 10 or 12 of those are free free people that I've given free accounts to. So there's 25, 26 paying customers at this point.
Yeah. Let's see. So, I don't think I updated you on my book launch.
Yeah, how's that going?
So I sent out that discount code. I have just a few angry people, but I PayPal'd a little bit of money to. I don't think a lot of people understand that authors get 10% royalty on a book. So, like, when a book sells for $30 or so, I make $3. If it's half off, it's like $1.50. So I PayPal'd a couple of people and I sent out my 10 steps to learn anything quickly course.
Right.
The numbers, I don't have the numbers now, what they are, but like on, I think it was Monday of this week, they told me that there was over 600 copies sold.
Nice.
So they were expecting 300 to 400 for launch for the meet. So we're yesterday. It was September 11th. It was the deal of the day for Manning.
Right.
So that should have brought in a bunch more. So I don't know where we're at. I'm guessing at this point we might be like 800, maybe even 1,000.
Yeah.
So the good news is, like, it'll certainly go to print.
Right.
At this point, like if it only sold like 100 or 200 copies, then I think there'd be a danger for it not going to print.
Right.
So that's pretty good, we'll see. I've got some pretty good feedback from people about it,
nice.
And I haven't even really started promoting it. My plan is when it goes to the final launch on Amazon, I'm gonna have probably like a group of maybe try to get 100 people together that I'm going to give the book out early. They've already bought the book or whatever, and try to get a bunch of reviews on the Amazon on the launch day, and just do a super kickoff for this thing, like the biggest launch that Manning has ever seen an author do for a book. That's what my plan is for it.
Nice. What's your mailing list up to? How many subscribers do you have now?
About 5,500, a little over that. I added a bunch this week. My blog post on what was it on? On your you being your own worst enemy.
Right.
Ended up hitting a few. I think it hit like the Code Project newsletter or something.
Oh, nice.
So,
very nice. So yeah, that's a heck of a mailing list to be able to do this launch with.
Yeah, it should. It should be. It definitely shows the power of having like a big list and audience, because I think they were surprised that I was able to generate that many sales on the book.
Right. So I've my mailing list, surprisingly, I'm up to about a little over 4,200 at this point.
Oh wow!
Which is crazy, because a year ago, August last year, I had 500. So I gained 3,700 subscribers in the last year and a month, which is pretty awesome. But so I did something. So my weekly emails that I send out, I typically include a little ad at the very bottom of it, which I know is like the absolute worst place to put an ad. But it's usually one of my things, and it's usually Watch Me Code, because I'm trying to get people converted over to Watch Me Code subscriptions. But this week I decided to put in my JavaScript, Mastering JavaScript This ebook at the very bottom. And, and it got some pretty good results. I sold like 12 copies in the day of the email, and a few more since then as well. So that did surprisingly well, because I don't typically get much traffic from those links at the bottom. But I guess the smaller, cheaper price and ebook and whatnot went over pretty well. So I'm going to do an experiment with next week's email, and I'm gonna put my Backbone plugins ebook as the little ad, but I'm going to put it at the very top instead of at the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
See how that goes. I know people are probably going to complain, what's this ad doing in here? But, whatever. If it helps me sell, then it helps me sell.
Yeah, it's worth doing the experiment too, and just to see how
just
that works.
experiment. But this week's email was particularly popular as well. It was a story on how I crashed all of the
Oh yeah,
websites of a $100 million multinational corporation in a
yeah, that was a
big
great headline.
manufacturing.
That sucked me right in. I had to
Yeah,
click that. Like, oh, what the heck?
I was hoping so, and I actually think I downplayed the company a little bit. When I
Yeah,
originally wrote the headline, I wrote $300 million company, which I think is accurate. But I was like,
yeah,
was it really 300 million? I'll be safe and I'll say 100 million.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter because either
Right.
one. In fact, 100 million might even sound better for some reason.
Right,
It
right.
just
It's like right
scared
over
me.
that tipping point. Well, it's huge.
Yeah,
So yeah. So yeah, that email has been pretty dang popular. I got a lot of um, good feedback on that from Twitter, and I posted it to my archive list on my blog this morning, and it's been getting a ton of traffic on the blog this morning, which
oh
has
nice.
gained me another like 20 or 30 subscribers today. So
Yeah, I got to. That reminds me, I got to send an email today. I've been really bad since I've been in Hawaii and getting my emails out on Friday and time.
yeah,
But it'll probably be another Saturday email.
right.
And then I got to get that archive thing set up too. Once I get back and sort of rework the blog, I'll set that up because that's a good source of extra traffic, extra
Yeah,
users.
yeah, it's generating quite a bit of traffic for me. I get a number of people tweeting out the links from there, and I see search engine traffic showing up there now, and people just hitting it through the website and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's definitely worth doing. I got to go back and start putting in more of the old ones as well. I've got like 8 or 9 of them in there, but I've got 4 or 5, 6 months worth of emails that I need to go back and put in. I might just pay somebody to do it, or just spend a few minutes here and there whenever I can. But one of the things I want to do with that right now, I'm writing all of those emails in in Mailchimp,
yeah.
and using their editor and everything, and just writing it in there. And then when I'm done, I copy and paste it into the blog. So I'm basically doing the work twice. And so with that email archive plugin that I built to manage all of this on the website, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to modify that a little bit so that it will generate its own RSS feed, as well as integrating the posts into the main RSS feed. And
Oh, I see.
I'm going to use that secondary RSS feed to feed the RSS to email feature. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
that way I can go into the blog, write the whole thing right there in WordPress, have it done, and the email will automatically send to my mailing list from the WordPress blog. So that way I don't have to do the work twice, and it's a little more automated for me.
That's cool. The only problem with that might be your subject line, because I know with Mailchimp with the automated RSS, like the subject line is always the same, like newsletter or
Yeah,
I
with
don't know.
Mailchimp it is. I think I'm not gonna make this happen until I switch over to Drip though. I got another email from Rob at Drip just yesterday, giving me an update on that feature. He says they're going to be putting the RSS to email in place probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He actually showed
Yeah.
me the list of prioritized tasks for his developer, and it's a really interesting list of stuff. There's a lot of cool little things that they're going to be doing, and right in the middle of that list was the RSS to email, which will probably happen in the next couple of weeks. So once that's in place, I'm going to be migrating all of my mailing list over to Drip and getting rid of Mailchimp, and then that's probably when I'm going to set up the RSS to email from the blog. Because yeah, with
Okay.
Mailchimp, the subject is the same all the time. At least the way
Yeah.
that I have it set up right now. You might be able to do it. I've never really looked, actually. You might be able to change the subject to the individual blog post, but I'm not sure. But either way, I'm going to switch over to Drip and I'm going to have Drip sending out the emails to my mailing list for me.
So I had a bit of a mini crisis this week.
All right.
Like this one that the real estate. I start to freak out about the property management company we have in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Because we've got some real estate there, but it was just taking a long time for them to get rents, to get a few places rented out, and then it seemed like they're making money on the maintenance. Like they're charging like $65 an hour for handyman work, for painting and patch jobs and stuff. So, which I know kind of the tricks that they do and stuff. But I started pushing back, and they're like, "No, this is what our charge is." And so I'm looking for. I'm currently in the process of interviewing multiple management companies in Kansas City, just because I'm probably going to switch. And I'm taking it more systematic though now from what I've learned from what we've been doing. Like I've got a list, and I'm going to go through and interview all of them and ask the questions and then shortlist them. But I should have that handled. But it's a bit of a crisis situation. I mean, it's not a huge deal at this point, but obviously that's a big chunk of the income that I'm relying on for passive income. So like that can seriously disrupt the stream if there's problems with the management company. But yeah, it's I think it's pretty much going to be handled now. But it is a little bit like it's unsettling because you're like, this is the thing that's supposed to be like secure.
Yeah. I don't know how you handle that with your property being so far away. I mean, it's one thing if it was in the same city where you live and you can drive over to the building and ask the management company to show you why it's going to cost that much money, and you can judge for yourself. But having to trust them halfway across the country like that, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've got properties in Boise, Idaho, and in Kansas City. Some of the properties I've bought the properties sight unseen.
Wow.
Just based on, either having a friend look at it, hiring inspectors and whatnot. I mean, to some degree, it's largely on a matter of trust and on kind of the leverage that you have. Like, if you have a lot of properties, obviously a property management company wants your business. So
yeah, it's true.
But you kind of have to set that you're not going to get taken advantage of, and you kind of have to question things and ask for photos and ask for receipts and stuff so that they realize that they're not, and I guess I've kind of slipped on this other one, or they just stopped caring because they're not being as, they're definitely trying to take advantage, it seems at this point.
Yeah, call them out on that. Get back on the, give me receipts, give me pictures, give me everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, probably I'll just switch, just because if they're trying to do this, it's not you're not gonna argue someone and say you are a liar, admit it.
Right. Yeah. That's
like
a fair point. It might be worth hiring someone else, third party inspector or something like that. Again, to go out there, or contractor or whoever it is, and they say, hey, go take a look at this property, give me your estimate. Somebody completely independent, somebody that pay them for the estimate, just to get an idea of whether or not the management company is really trying to screw you over or not.
Well, I asked for a couple of bids, so I think that'll be. Anytime a $65 an hour labor rate is obviously ridiculous when you know very well that you can get a handyman for $25 an hour that can paint or patch walls, and that obviously has to be marked up a little bit to coordinate it, so maybe $35 an hour or so is plenty. But so it's just one of those things, like you get used to it, and you get used to, I mean, you have to know that you're probably going to pay a little bit more. Like, that's one of the hard things about real estate, I'd say, is like you have someone move out and you get some expenses for repairs and stuff, and you're like, man, what, $400 to like replace the dishwasher? Like, I could go and do that for like whatever, buy a cheap one for $200 and I can install it. But then you got to realize that you're just going to have to pay certain, like there's certain things, you have to give it a little bit more. It's not going to be as efficient as you would like it to be.
Yeah.
But there's a certain level there, but you can't let it go too far on the other end where you're just getting ridiculous charges. But at the other end, you have to be kind of hands off and say, okay, well, I'd rather just pay someone to do this kind of stuff because that's what makes it passive.
Right.
So
Right, and the exact same thing applies to software development. I mean, if you're hiring somebody to write code for you, it might be more efficient for you to do the work, but is it really a better use of your time?
Right.
It's okay. I could do this myself. It'll take 4 hours, and it'll be done. Or I can have Joe Bob over there, who is a trusted developer that I've worked with before, have him do it. It might take him 6 or 8 hours, and it'll cost me a little bit more money, but it'll be worth it in the long run because I won't have to worry about it.
All right, exactly. And if you ever hired like a contractor off of Odesk or something, like a freelancer, you know that. I mean, if you hire someone for like $10 an hour, they're going to take a lot more hours to do it. But even if you hire someone for a decent rate, you have to realize that if you pay someone for 8 hours, they're probably going to do 6 hours worth of work. And that's just, I mean, if you're doing better than that, that's pretty good. But I know some people that they'll hire someone, or even just employees, right? I've known people that are running businesses that have a huge turnover rate in employees because they hire an employee, they expect them to work 8 hours a day. Which is just not. I mean, for some jobs, like maybe Burger King, right, or where you're constantly like you're doing some kind of manual, but any kind of thinking job where a person has any kind of autonomy. You just cannot expect that. Like you can't squeeze, like you're trying to squeeze too much out of your investment. Like you have to realize that nothing is ever going to be perfectly efficient. You're never going to get exactly what you paid for. There's going to be some margin of error. So. Right.
It's like if I were planning to build a highway, you don't plan to have the highway running at 100% capacity because. What do you call a highway that's at 100% capacity? A parking lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's completely full. There's no room for anybody to get on. All the cars are stopped. People are the same way. You pay somebody for an 8-hour day, you're going to get maybe 6 hours of work out of them, and that's okay because those 6 hours are going to be good 6 hours. And the other, the 10 minutes here to go to the bathroom. The 20 minutes to just stop and stretch and get your mind off of things for a minute and then get back to it. It's all those little things that add up, but it comes out to an 8-hour workday and 5 or 6 hours of hands-on actual work.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like that's one of the biggest mistakes that I think people that start investing in real estate make at first is they buy some house. They're like, okay, well, let me see if I bought this house for $100,000 and I can rent it out for $1,200 a month. So, okay, that's easy. I could get a mortgage on there, and then if my mortgage is $600, I'll make $600 a month. That's awesome. But then they don't realize that there's other expenses. There's the management fees, unless you're going to manage it yourself. There's repairs that happen. There's utilities sometimes that you get stuck with. There's a vacancy rate. That out of the $1,200, maybe you're only actually going to get $600 on average every month. So it's just those numbers have to work. One thing I do actually, which kind of works on the business side too. I need to apply it more to the actual other income. But I have a 12-month running average, and I have a 24-month running average.
Right.
So, at any point in time, I can tell what my profit is on real estate for my properties averaged over the 12-month period, a 12-month window and a 24-month window. So that gives you kind of a good to know what the actual numbers are, as opposed to what you think they might be, because it can fluctuate. but you can be pretty confident in a 12-month running average, and then you can be really confident in a 24-month. Like,
Yeah.
just because you have a bad month or a good month, if you have 24 months of data that you're averaging together, that's going to be a real good indicator. And you can see that trend up and trend down, but in general, that's going to be your stability line that you can count on.
Right. And I don't really have that kind of history or data or tracking or anything with anything that I've got going on right now. Watch Me Code's only been running a subscription service for 4 or 5 months now, and Signalleaf, I just haven't taken the time to build that kind of tracking in, which I've been thinking about a lot recently, actually. I need to be able to calculate lifetime revenue per customer and all that kind of stuff, and I'm thinking about signing up for Barometrics again because it gives me a lot of that info. But then there's a couple of other reports that I want to be able to generate on my own that I'm not sure if Barometrics does, or I want to see a specific way. So I might end up doing something like stuffing subscription signups into Keen.io, which is the analytics service that I use for Signalleaf reports, and be able to give myself trends and information out of there for when people sign up, when people cancel, things like that.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say to be cautious of is how valuable are the metrics at this point to you? Like, if you're using the data to either beat yourself up or congratulate, like primarily, or is the time better spent growing, like doing things that will actively grow you, and then some point, like in the future, where you reach a certain amount of revenue, then you're like, okay, now tweaking it, like the 5% will make a difference, versus like 5% of 10 customers, like, like per month doesn't matter. It's like If you increase that, or because most of the time, if your metrics aren't going to have an effect, like knowing that the details is somewhat comforting, but it might not have an effect of greater than 5 or 10% that you could affect by
right. I'm not really looking at it for tweaks at this point. I'm not trying to optimize anything. It's more of, I need to know my baseline. I need to know how much it's costing me, how much revenue a single person is generating over the lifetime of their subscription, and what subscription they have, so that I can look at, how much money am I willing to spend to obtain a customer, and how much bandwidth and how much money am I willing to spend on this customer over their lifetime and per month. I'm looking for real data to show me, the average customer on this plan earns this much revenue over the lifetime of their subscription. So if I divide that by the average lifetime, by the average number of months that they subscribe, I see that I can spend this much per month on this customer, which includes, database hosting and bandwidth from Amazon S3 and everything else that I need to be able to calculate. And so I'm at the point now where I'm just kind of going, I don't know how much to charge, I don't know how much to spend, I just don't know. And that's okay for a while when you're getting your first customers, and I don't even have 100 customers yet, so I think I'm still okay right now.
Exactly.
But I want to start getting some of that stuff set up so that when I do hit 100 customers, 200 customers, whatever it is, I can have that information in place and be able to use that information to better adjust things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But I agree with you. Like in the future, that's when it'll be more important.
Yeah, so it's not like I'm going to go sign up today.
Yeah.
I frankly, I don't have the money to right now. I would love to, because I think Barometrics is an awesome service. I had it for a couple of months, and it was pretty dang awesome, but I just don't have the money to spend on it right now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really going on. Like, obviously I'm not doing much. I'm trying not to do much at this point. I'm actually getting antsy. Like, I want to start doing stuff now.
Good.
hold myself back and say, no,
Right.
not do stuff.
Yeah. It's been a difficult week for me from a number of perspectives. My client project is getting. It has to be done by the end of the year. That's like an actual deadline that is. There's no way to move it because at the end of the year, the existing systems are being turned off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they're not going to change that. They're spending millions of dollars a year on these systems, and they're turning them off at the end of the year so that they can save that money. So I got to have this thing done, and it's starting to get kind of stressful because it's not moving as quickly as I need it to be. So
Yeah.
between that and trying to focus on watch me code all week, it's been a difficult week for me, but still, a good week overall, productive, getting the screencast recorded and getting a couple blog posts up and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been reading this book it's kind of a crappy book, but it's kind of got good stuff. It's called The Power of Now. It's one of those like metaphysical type of, woo-woo, Eastern philosophy type of books.
Right.
But it's about the idea of like not living in the past or the future, but living in the current moment, which is pretty interesting because I realize that I spend a lot of time in the future.
Right.
And it's not a good way to live because you're always anticipating the thing that's coming instead of.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah. So I mean, you're never enjoying things. You're always stressing out. And I realized it too. Like as I was going through with that real estate problem, I was looking at it and I was like, I'm very fiscally conservative. Like I am. I'm all freaking out. And my wife's like, well, you're gonna work too. I mean, it's like, you how much income did you generate from your course, and and how much income do you generate from Pluralsight videos, and I'm thinking, well, you could live off the next 15 years off of that if you needed to, right? So it's like, but I'm freaking out because the real estate might be like a couple thousand less than it's supposed to be at a given time.
Right.
But I figured out that that's a lot because I'm thinking too far into the future instead of taking the exercise to say, okay, what is the problem now? At any given time, what is your current problem? And most of the time, it's nothing. There's not a problem at this given moment, right? Or is there, what can you do to address things at a given moment? So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's not a book that I would necessarily recommend, but the concepts in it are important, I think. And it made me realize that I'm spending a lot of time overthinking the future instead, which is just a waste. Like instead of living in the moment.
Yeah, my wife tends to get wrapped up in what if, and I mean she'll sit there and start asking me questions about our son and his health problems. What if it's this? What if it's this? And I look at her. What if he has cancer? What if he dies tomorrow? What if he gets hit by a car? What if he falls off the bicycle? What I'll ask all of these ridiculous questions that are just extreme and just really far out there, and just to make the point that if you can ask these questions all day long, you can worry about these things and obsess over every last possibility, and it's not going to make a lick of difference. You're not going to be able to do anything about any of those things unless you want to just hide inside all day and shun the outside world and not have any kind of life because you're afraid of the possibilities of things that might happen. And that's not healthy. It's a horrible thing to do. So plan for failures, plan for bad things happening, think about the responses that you're going to have in those situations. If I'm going to go mountain biking, what are my contingencies for if I fall down and get hurt? Okay, I've got my cell phone, I've got a few basic bandages, I've got at least a rudimentary knowledge of being able to take a stick and tape it to my arm because my arm is broken and I need to to crawl back to civilization, or whatever the case may be. So there's contingency plans. You think about some responses and then get on with your life. Stop obsessing over those kinds of problems that you have no control over.
Yeah. I sometimes try to do the exercise of thinking what's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
To just like, well, let's say that things went south. Well, I could get a pretty good job if I had to. I mean, even if I didn't have to, I could move into a rental property in Kansas City.
Yep.
Right, and eat spam and eggs and rice.
Yeah.
That I'm willing to do that, and that whole me in that time I'd be trying to build a new business.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and my wife has done that for me a few times when I've been freaking out about income and having spent too much money on sponsorships, or when I was considering leaving Derick and going back to independent life. She looks at me and says, even if you've miserably, completely, totally, utterly fail at what you're trying to do, it's not like we're going to lose the house and we're going to be on the streets starving. I still have income. We could take money out of our 401k and other retirement plans if we absolutely have to get us through whatever we're going through. And that's certainly not something I want to rely on by any means. Those are doing those things are not part of my plan.
Exactly.
I'm not planning to spend so much money that I have to close my 401k accounts and live off of that money. But at the same time, it gives me a little bit of comfort knowing that, okay, even if I do screw this up really badly, we're going to have income. We're going to be able to feed the kids at the very least, and the kids will be taken care of, and maybe I would finally lose the 50 pounds that I've gained because I wouldn't be able to buy food for myself,
Right.
But whatever. So there's always it's expect the worst, hope for the best is the phrase that I like to use. I don't remember where I got that phrase from. I think it might have been some army dude way back in the day that I was talking to. But the idea is, expect the worst because bad things will happen. Hope for the best so that you're not completely, utterly shocked and surprised when good things do happen, and so that you do have a plan for when good things happen as well.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the key. I mean, it's usually not as bad. I mean, it's interesting too to talk from this perspective because I think a lot of people make foolish jumps, especially into entrepreneurship, right? And there's a difference between you've got a 401k, you've got backup plans, you have you've got your worst case scenario looks like I go back to corporate world after living off of whatever but I keep my house and everyone's fed and everything. But I think some people just jump in and they're like they don't have a plan, they don't have a worst case scenario is like they're literally homeless and or they go bankrupt. Right. And that's I think that's there's a difference. Like it's interesting just to look at how that is. What are you actually doing? What is your plan? Like, does it actually have a chance of success, or are you just like out there on a limb? Right. But yeah, and I think in both of our situations, we have more of the tendency to be a little bit over cautious.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that. In some situations, I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. And then at other times, I'm like, wait, hold on, I'm freaking out. What are my backup plans here? And so it can be a very subtle thing that makes that giant shift in my perspective in the same situation. One week I was talking about not wanting to do screencasts for Watch Me Code anymore, and the next week I've got a brand new subscription service that I'm launching. One week I'm talking about, hey, I'm getting tired of whatever at Derick, and next week I quit my job. So I do have some risk tolerance, but not always.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting too. I always think about too the fact that things scale up so high. Like if you can sell one copy of a thing, you could sell 100,000. Like it's just a scale thing. So you're
Right.
never too far away from what, if you've got people subscribing to your service, then there's the right path that will make that be 100-fold.
Right.
Like it's not any more difficult. It's just reaching the number of people. So, yeah, that garbage truck's coming through here.
Nice. All right, man.
Well,
That's about all I got for the week. I'm tired of talking. I've been talking for 3.5 hours now.
yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to add. We'll catch up with Josh next week and see what kind of celebrities he's meeting. And
Yes. How many hundreds of thousands of subscribers he got while he was out at that off-site thing for work.
yeah, exactly. It's funny. He's in some ways he's the most successful of us, but the least successful of us. But,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, he just needs some time, I think. And then,
Right.
So. All right. Well, I'll talk to you again next week.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derick as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up.